All right, guys, welcome to the fifth and final EEA Masters live coaching call. Today's Tuesday, April 19th, 2016. And as I do every week, thank you so much for attending live. It means a lot to me that you're taking your time out right now to watch this or to attend this instead of accessing it later in the membership area. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And this is the fifth and final one, so it's kind of sad, but it's kind of like a relief as well that this is the last one. So it's kind of bittersweet. Anyway, in this live coaching call, it's going to be fairly quick. It's not going to be as lengthy as some of the previous calls. The first thing we're actually going to cover is submitted Q&A. There was pretty much only one question that was submitted by someone, and it's a fairly quick thing to get through. So I'm going to cover that quickly first in the first couple of minutes. Then we're going to get into entrepreneurial mindset. So every single week, basically, I've chosen a specific topic that I focused on or that I've prepared to present. And because this is the final one, I really wanted to deliver a reminder, not only for you guys, but even for myself, about what kind of a mindset we should all have. Unfortunately, most people don't realize that this one thing is the key to success, and it's also potentially the key or the reason or the cause for failure. And unfortunately, I've also seen from even many students that are part of this course and this training program and many others that a lot of times people fail only because of their mindset. And one of my teachers, he told me that business is essentially 80% mindset, 20% action. If your actions 20% are based on your mindset, that's 80%, and your mindset is very strong and it's positive, then the 20% action that you take will be amazing, right? So mindset has a lot to do not only with us as business people and as entrepreneurs, but even as Muslims and as just people in general, as human beings. Mindset is a huge part of the way we live our lives, and we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. And I haven't covered. In the course, there's a section at the beginning in Module 1 where there is a little bit about mindset and motivation and whatnot. I wanted to take it a little bit further this time because this is the last time, at least as part of these 5 coaching calls, that we'll be kind of discussing something. So I wanted to give a kind of a broader, overall, vague, more, larger, I guess, reminder as we move forward and as you all move forward with your businesses and with your, journey in entrepreneurship and online business. So that's the topic for today, and then there's going to be a live Q&A at the end as we do every single week. So agenda item number 1, as I said, is submitted Q&A. So this was the only question that was submitted. The person said that I started a listing with the free item. I have reviews that have pictures of the free item, but now I want to change the free item to something else. Do I need to make another listing or just change the free item on that listing? So assuming that the free item is digital, simply change the free item on that listing. It's not a big deal. For example, if you were providing or giving away a free ebook on a specific topic and you want to change that ebook or anything like that, again, you can just simply change it. That's not a problem at all. But it's important to remember to change any place you made mention of that free item to the new free item. So change any mention of the old one to the new one. So that includes anywhere such as the images, the title, the bullets, the description, etc. Anywhere on your listing, anywhere, even in your email series. So if you have an email follow-up where you mention, the ebook or whatever free item that they're supposed to receive and you're trying to deliver it, then obviously you want to make sure that the mentioning of that free item is correct, whether it's the title or, obviously even the PDF itself, the download, the link, make sure all that is correct and updated for the new item, so that there's no confusion on the customer's end. All right, so that was a pretty simple question to answer. So now let's get into agenda item number 2, which is, again, entrepreneurial mindset. There are a few very important points that I'm going to be focusing on at the beginning, and then we'll get into some general things that we can all kind of implement in our lives, and some things that I've learned, in my journey, and I'm obviously continuously learning. As we're all students first, right? So even though I'm teaching a course or whatever, I'm even more focused on learning and improving myself and being a student before I'm a teacher. So entrepreneurial mindset. There are a few things that we'll discuss today. Number 1 is turning goals into beliefs. The second is constantly learning and developing oneself, and that includes things such as finding a mentor, reading books, The third thing we'll talk about is managing one's time. Number 4 is never getting comfortable. Number 5 is failure is the stepping stone to success, and we'll talk a little bit about that and how important that is. So turning goals into beliefs. I think someone raise their hand? I don't know. I just saw some like notification. So I just want to make sure that there's no questions at this point before I get into this, because this is going to take a few minutes. Are there any questions or concerns so far? Can everybody hear me? Everything is good? Okay, I think we're good, right? All right, perfect. I just saw a hand appear, and I think with GoToWebinars you can like raise your hand or something if you want to notify the instructor. Anyway, we'll ignore that. So, all right. So, like I said, these are the things that we'll be covering. Every one of these is very important, but the first couple and the first 2 or 3 are extremely important, and so we'll be focusing more on those. So, turning goals into beliefs. This is something that I recently learned about. I mean, I'm talking about like maybe a few months ago. I've been trying to read more books, and we're going to talk about reading books in a little bit. But what I've noticed is that all successful people, who are rich, who are successful in any area or on any topic or in any field, they read a lot and they basically improve themselves and focus on personal development a lot. And so I recently basically made one of my goals to read a book a week. And I'm not saying I've stuck to that goal very well yet. But again, having that goal, I mean, if my goal is to read one a week, and I read instead one every 2 weeks, that's good. That's better than aiming for one a month and reading one every 2 months. You know what I mean? So, one of the books that I've recently read, and I actually heard about some of what the book was about even before, but I didn't realize or make the connection that it was part of this book until I read it, and that's about turning goals into beliefs. So I attended the Muslim Mastermind, which happened in Dallas a few months ago. Kam Mirza, whose net worth, mashallah, is over 500 million, almost 600 million, so over $500 million. He basically talks about this, and he talked about this in the Mastermind. He talked about mindset. He talked about how to turn goals into beliefs and what that means. So in Think and Grow Rich, the same thing is discussed. So let's get into that. Basically, one of the foundational concepts or aspects of the book Think and Grow Rich, and of what Kam Mirza was talking about, and of this concept of turning goals into beliefs, is that whatever you feed your mind will take on its equivalent physical reality. Okay, so basically, if you're a positive person and you think positively, and even when there's a challenge, your mindset is that I'm going to overcome this, not that you're going to stop or that you're going to let that take you into failure, right? Similarly, anything with life, right? Any challenge that comes up, any obstacle, any tragedy or whatever that comes up in your life, if you're able, if you're, whatever your mind is thinking, whatever you have inside of your head, that's gonna basically come out in reality, and it's gonna become a reality, right? And that's there are many stories and examples that I'll use right now to actually get that point across to you. Now, one of the stories mentioned in Think and Grow Rich is the story of Thomas Edison's business partner. Now, before before this person, again, I don't remember his name, but basically before he became Thomas Edison's business partner, which was his ultimate goal, he was a nobody. He didn't even know Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison didn't know him, right? And of course, we know who Thomas Edison is. What kind of inventor he was, and how much he's basically contributed to humanity in his life through his inventions and creations. So this person who had never met Thomas Edison, who didn't know him, he basically found a way to start working for him. So he basically traveled to Thomas Edison and he said, "Hey, I would like to do work for you, and I would like to study under you or whatever. And any kind of work that you have for me around the office or wherever, I'll do it. I'll basically be your kind of a quote unquote servant or whatever. Obviously, he's going to get paid. Actually, I'm not even sure if he got paid, but he was basically like, I'll do whatever you need me to do if you need help." So Thomas Edison was like, "Okay, that's fine." And so it literally went for like at least a couple of years. But the person's goal from the beginning was that he's going to become Thomas Edison's business partner. Now imagine this person who's never ever met this person, who has no credentials in his eyes, who has no credibility. This is a nobody kind of off the street. He's like, "Hey, I want to just help you out." right? And in Thomas Edison would never think that this person is going to become his business partner. But basically, what happened, to make the story short, is that this person, he took advantage of every opportunity that came his way, right? He showed Thomas Edison that he had the ability to take responsibility and to really help out. And eventually, after a few years, he became Thomas Edison's business partner, right? One of the lessons that we learn from this story, and again, it's very brief, and you can read the book Think and Grow Rich to get more details about the story and exactly what happened. But the thing is that, first of all, one huge lesson is that this person had a goal, and every single day he would remind himself of this goal, and he knew exactly what his goal was in the long run. And even though it didn't happen overnight, it didn't happen even over a few weeks or a few months. Rather, it took years for this person to turn that goal into a reality, right? He strove, he did whatever he needed to do, and he knew that eventually that thing would come true. And that's how he turned a goal that he had into a belief. He didn't say that I want to become Thomas Edison's business partner. Rather, he said that I will become Thomas Edison's business partner. And when basically you have that kind of belief in your heart, in your mind, then your mind is such a powerful tool that we don't even like utilize enough in our lives as human beings. But it's so powerful that basically your mind will do things and think of ideas and become so creative that it will allow you to achieve that goal because it's a belief, right? If that makes sense. So basically, you keep, telling yourself that I will do this, I will do this, I will achieve this goal, and your mind starts thinking, okay, yes, how do we achieve this goal? How will we do this? On the opposite side, if you keep telling yourself, I'm never going to achieve this goal, I doubt I'm going to achieve this goal, then obviously it's going to turn into disbelief, and now your mind will shut itself down. Your mind will say, okay, well, it's not possible, so obviously I don't have to think of ways to make it possible, right? So it's a very powerful concept that this book portrays. Another story is the story of Steven Spielberg, right? Is Steven Spielberg? He's one of the most infamous movie directors in American media history, and he's directed, I mean, a numerous amount of movies, and he's extremely infamous. So he has quite a reputation. So essentially, a lot of people don't know his story, and I didn't either before I read this. So basically, Steven Spielberg, he had the goal of becoming a movie director, right? So what he did was that there would be tours of, I believe, Universal, which was like the Hollywood, basically at that time, and where movies were directed and everything. All the movie stuff was happening, all the productions. So he basically, there would be tours every single day of that area, right, of Universal Studios, if that's the correct name I'm using. Let's just say it was Universal. So he basically would get a ticket or whatever to attend a tour every single day. And what he would do is he would sneak out of the tour line or of the tour area, and he would basically start observing everything that was happening in the studios, right? He would look at all the production, see how everything is going. He would take notes. He would, look at how everything is working. And also, eventually, what he started doing is that he started wearing like a suit and a professional attire, and he started acting like he was someone who worked there, right? Now imagine like this person, he it sounds so crazy and so extreme, but it shows, first of all, again, as we get into the story even further, that he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve that goal, right? His mind said, hey, do this. If you're going to achieve this goal, it's a belief that you're going to do this, or you're going to achieve that goal of becoming a movie director. Here's what you need to do. His mind told him, hey, you need to sneak in into these tours. You need to start observing people. And so he acted like he was someone who worked there, and he actually started forming relationships with people at the studios in the area of movie, directing and production and whatnot. And people actually thought he worked there. So there were, I mean, pretty much everyone who was there was like, yeah, this is just another, guy who's part of our team. And eventually he started showing his skill off. He started showing this gift that he had in movie production from everything he had learned and from kind of the natural gift that he had in this area. And what happened next was that there was this movie Jaws in the 1970s that came out. That movie was directed by Steven Spielberg, but the thing is that initially it was actually given to someone else. The responsibility of directing that movie and creating that movie was given to someone else, And Steven Spielberg essentially went up to the person who was in charge, who was choosing the director, and he said that, hey, I want to do this, right? And he basically gave him a spiel. He made, uh, he basically made a pitch to that person as to why he should be the one in charge of the movie and this and that. He got the job, and it ended up being a great movie, right? And that basically was the beginning of his career. Now, again, that's a very shallow and paraphrased version of his story, or of the beginning of his story rather. But the thing is that, again, going back to the main lesson in this story, is that he had a goal, and that turned into a belief. And because that happened, he basically did whatever it took. His mind told him, his mind guided him to what he needed to do to actually achieve that goal and achieve that belief that he had, that he was going to become a great movie director in Hollywood. And again, his career went on, and now he's flourished essentially in everything that he's done. The final story I'll share here is of Napoleon Hill's son. So Napoleon Hill is actually the author of Think and Grow Rich, and at one point in the book, he actually shares the story of his own son. His son was born without ears. Okay, so now this person, Napoleon Hill, his son is born without ears, and he's not able to hear, obviously. And because he didn't even have the function, the tool, meaning the ear, to actually hear, the doctors basically said that this person, this human being, will never be able to hear. But Napoleon Hill, because he wrote this book, and because obviously he had this aspect of mindset of being positive, of saying to himself that it doesn't matter what the obstacle is, it doesn't matter how impossible it seems, but because I have a belief that something will happen, it will happen, right? Whether it's the universe, as they say, Allah basically making it possible because the person has such a will to make it happen, and because he has such trust and reliance that Allah can make anything possible. Again, that's for Muslims, but again, anyone who has any sort of belief in a higher power, right? They, if you basically have that trust and belief that anything is possible, then that really results in a very strong mindset. So that's what Napoleon Hill had. And he, since his son was very young, he never ever basically accepted that his son was going to be deaf and mute for the rest of his life, right? Because if his son is deaf, then he's essentially going to be mute as well. And what he noticed when he was very young, his son, is that he was able to detect a little bit of hearing from certain, like whenever they would play the records, whenever the dad, Napoleon Hill, he would talk to his son in a very very close range, he realized that his son would react to the sounds, right? But it was very very small, and it was very little, almost impossible still, but it was there. Some sense of hearing was there, he noticed. And so as he was so him and his wife, Napoleon Hill's wife, they were so like you know committed to this fact that he will hear, that they wouldn't even put him into a normal school. They wouldn't even put him into a deaf school. They actually put him into a normal school. They were like, no, he's gonna learn normally, even though he wasn't able to hear. Actually, when he was in elementary school and high school and whatnot, the teachers basically had to scream into his ears for him to actually even be able to hear anything. He would be required to have special attention and whatnot. And his parents were like, no, I mean, that's what we're going to do. And also, they basically made the child believe that his quote unquote handicap or deficiency was actually an advantage over people, right? So, for example, he said that the parents said to the son that, hey, because you're deaf, because you don't have ears, people will actually treat you better. People will actually treat you in a special way that they won't treat other people. And of course, we know that people who have handicaps are treated differently in many cases than normal people are, but most of the time it's in the negative sense. Oh, well, why are you treating me differently? I need special help, special care, this and that. Whereas they turned it around. They said people are going to be nicer to you, they're going to be more patient with you, they're going to give you special treatment. And it's actually because you have this gift, rather, instead of a handicap, right? So they basically made it a positive thing, and they told the son, they continually believed and repeated to him that he will be able to hear, he will be able to hear. And basically, what happened um, is that the son, he had tried a hearing device that was given to him. I think around the age, somewhere in his teenage years, he was given a hearing device, and he was, tried it out. Basically, it didn't work. And so later on, there was new research, new technology that came out that the son received, and he was hesitant and reluctant to use it or try it out because the first time it hadn't worked. But then he tried it, and basically it worked, and he was able to hear, right? And again, this is a very paraphrased story, even short version of the story, but he was able to hear that time when he got this new special device. And it was kind of a miracle because the doctors, when they checked it out, when they saw him and they realized that he could hear, even though he literally didn't have ears, they said that it doesn't make any sense. Again, according to science, according to all the knowledge we have, it's actually practically impossible for your son to hear anything, even with a hearing device. And again, he was able to hear, and his parents, obviously, throughout his entire life, 20, 25 years, they had, you know, they strove and they were dedicated and committed to the fact that, hey, this is a belief that he is going to be able to hear, he's going to be able to talk. And that basically became a reality. He explains in the book that this belief that he had, he just feels like, whenever you have a belief and you have conviction that something is going to happen, then Allah, or he mentions the universe or a higher power, basically helps you and makes that thing possible, right? A very powerful story. I basically was in tears, when I read it, because he's telling the story of his own son. And then what happened is that his son went to the manufacturer of this device that helped him hear finally after so many years, and he told them, or he noticed that they basically didn't have a way or a method yet of mass marketing this product or this device to deaf people all around the world. He basically spent a couple of weeks or a few days there making a business plan and a marketing plan for that company who manufactured this device, and he brought it to them and they thought it was amazing, and basically he became the manager or the director or whatever of that initiative to help spread that device to millions and millions of deaf people all around the world, right? And it's amazing that this person started when he was born without ears. Everyone around him other than his parents believed that he would never be able to hear, he would be mute. And because of the belief that his parents had that he would be able to hear one day, and the continuous pushing and striving according to that belief and trying to achieve that goal, which was a belief in their heads, it came true eventually, and he went on to help millions of deaf people all around the world, right? So again, it's a very powerful story, and it shows that anything that your mind is set to, and you make it a belief inside of you, then you can achieve it. And you have to believe that, or you have to understand that. And so the steps to take and the lessons we learn, first of all, write down your ultimate goals, right? Kam Mirza, he has like 10 ultimate goals that he has. One of them is he's going to become a billionaire, right? If someone went up to you, if you went up to someone right now and said, hey, I'm going to become a billionaire, they'd think you're crazy. But the thing is that Kam Mirza has this conviction that he knows, he has this belief that he's going to become a billionaire. And mashallah, he's already at the point where he's 6/10 of the way there, 600 million, right? He has 400 million to go. So that's one of his ultimate goals. And he writes them down 5 times a day, and he repeats them to himself out loud, right? Now, you don't have to go to that extent if you're not ready to do that, because again, that has taken him years to develop that habit. But the first step and the most simplest step is to write down your ultimate goals, and they can be your business goals, how much income you want to make, how much you want to make with your business or entrepreneurship. It can be personal goals, whether it's your physical health, whether it's your spiritual health. We all have different kinds of goals and things that we want to achieve in different areas of our life. Write down those goals, 5 to 10 goals that you have in different areas of your life. And the second step, you can put a timeline on them if you want, right? So I want to achieve this goal in 12 months, 24 months, whatever it is. And then you want to put a why after every goal. That's extremely important. So I want to make $100,000 a year with this business because, and you put that why. And actually, I made a mistake of saying I want. So one very important part of writing down your goals, you don't say I want. You don't say I wish. You say I will. So you actually make the form of the statement from like skeptical or doubtful to like assuring. So you say that I will do this. I will achieve this goal. Right? That's the first step. When you write down your goals, make sure it's an I will statement, not an I want statement. And then put a why after every goal. And it must be a very strong why. Like it has to be so strong that like like it makes you so passionate about it, and it makes you strive and motivated to achieve that goal because your why is so strong. I want to make this much money because I want to support my parents, because I want to, take my parents to Hajj, because I want to support my children, because, there's so many personal aspirations that you have and reasons for wanting to achieve those. Make sure that why is very strong. And then you repeat them to yourself out loud at least twice a day. So in Think and Grow Rich, for example, he says to repeat it to yourself when you wake up in the morning and then before you go to sleep, right? So do that. Write them down if you can, and then also repeat them to yourself out loud, and do that at least twice a day, morning and night, and then more if you can, up to even 5 times a day if you can. And then he says in Think and Grow Rich to close your eyes and imagine that you've already achieved those goals. So he says that if you want to become a millionaire, for example, he says that every single day when you write down your goals and you repeat your goals to yourself out loud, he says to close your eyes and imagine that you're already a millionaire, right? And he says that when you do that, the more you do that, the more you repeat your goals again and again and again in an I will format, they become beliefs, right? They become like convictions. Like it doesn't matter what someone else says, it doesn't matter what happens, what obstacle comes in your way, what challenge comes in your way, you still have conviction that it's going to happen, right? So no hiccup, no anything around you, any external factor can make you think that you're not going to achieve it because it's so ingrained in you that it's become a belief, right? It's not just a thing that you think you can do, but it's something that you know you can do, and something that you know will happen, right? So again, it takes time to develop and turn goals into beliefs, but use these steps to do that for yourself. And again, like I said, the last step, close your eyes and imagine that you already have it. It will motivate you even further and really help you in transitioning those goals into beliefs just by imagining already having achieved those goals. All right, the second thing that we'll discuss now is finding a mentor. So, some statistics. There was a study done by Tom Corley. He's like a researcher. He said that 93% of the wealthy people who had mentors, who he studied, agreed with the statement that my mentor was responsible for my wealth, right? So literally out of the study that he did, he said that almost 9 out of every 10 people said, and these are wealthy people, these are self-made millionaires, these are people who have made a lot of money and have achieved success. They said that they attribute their wealth to their mentors, meaning that if I didn't have a mentor, I wouldn't achieve this level of success or this amount of wealth. Right? That's a very powerful statistic. And again, what is a mentor? Before we get any further, it's someone that guides you. It's someone that basically shows you the way, and guides you and shows you the tricks of the trade, kind of thing, right? So a mentor is someone, let's say in business, mentor, he tells you, hey, I've made these mistakes, I failed in these certain ways, so make sure you don't do these things. Do it this other way that I've seen that has worked better, right? He'll teach you about mindset. He'll teach you about specific technical skills that you need and how to do them and whatnot, and how he achieved or she has achieved that success, and how you can do it, and how you can basically model what they did to achieve similar levels of success, right? So that's what a mentor is in the broadest sense. So if you can download the consciousness, the mindset of people who have gone before you, then you will get what you want, right? So your ability to cope, to copy is the biggest predictor of the success you will have in life. So mentors are extremely important because when you see people who have already achieved success, and you basically emulate them and you model them and you copy essentially what they've done in their lives, how they model their lives, how they go about living their lives. If you copy every single thing that they've done and they've achieved success, then you pretty much have a good chance. It's very likely that you'll achieve either similar or the same level of success as they did, right? So your ability to copy is the biggest predictor of the success you will have in life. Picasso said that good artists copy, but great artists steal, right? And of course, steal doesn't mean in the negative sense, but in the positive sense, meaning that, right? Someone who wants to achieve success, the best way to achieve it is to go to someone and find someone and literally copy them and do exactly what they did to achieve that success, right? So Albert Einstein and a lot of many successful people had mentors. Albert Einstein, every Thursday he would sit with a mentor as he was growing up. Jay-Z, the rapper, had a mentor. Oprah had 2 mentors. Gandhi had a mentor, Aristotle. Bill Gates had Paul Allen. Warren Buffett had Benjamin Graham. Like literally these millionaires and billionaires, people who have achieved insane amounts of success, not only in business, but in other areas of life. they had mentors, they had people who were guiding them, right? And it's a huge part of what contributes to the success of people. Some more things about finding a mentor. Tai Lopez, who's a multimillionaire in the business and entrepreneurship industry, he says to see books as hidden treasure, right? Because on mentors, right? Again, continuing the topic of mentors, he says that some of the great mentors, the greatest mentors in history, they're no longer with us, right? So you think about people who are great people, individuals who came throughout history. Obviously, they've passed away; they're no longer with us. Well, how can we take them as mentors, right? Not only just people who are living today, but how do we take people who have already passed away as mentors? He says that what if you could learn from them today? Right? He says that what if I told you that Gandhi or even like one of the prophets or the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, or anyone from the past, any great figure, in Martin Luther King, whoever you can think of, what if I said that, hey, these people are going to be at my house on Saturday, we're going to be talking to them and getting advice from them, and they're going to be giving us some knowledge, right? Obviously everybody would show up, but the thing is that most people, and the way, and what I mean by that, of them being at my house, is that I have books, right? People have books on these people, biographies and autobiographies and things about their life and how they live their lives, and all of these pieces of advice and all of this knowledge and information about these people's lives is in books. So he sees that see books as hidden treasure, and it's literally a way for you to become a mentor, a mentee of a mentor from the past who's passed away, is to read their books, right? And so why do we give value if someone was alive today in person and you were able to get advice from them? Obviously, you would value that and you would show up anywhere they were to get advice and become a mentee of them. And why don't we give the same importance and the same significance to the books of those people who have passed away? So the modern education system has turned people off from books, and the other thing is that you need to stop seeing a book like a one-time event. Tai Lopez says this. He says that you need to treat a book like a friend, right? You come back again and again to that book, right? So basically, even we learn from the Quran that you're supposed to go back again and again from the Quran, and every single time you go back to it, you get new guidance and you get new treasures, and you find something new that you didn't know before. Every time, literally, for even scholars of the Quran, they still, every single time they open it and go to any verse or whatever, they find something new, they find some guidance, right? Or they find a reminder for themselves. And of course, that's divine guidance, that's a divine book. But similarly, with any book, it's the same thing, right? You don't go through a book once and then put it on the shelf and never go back to it again, right? You, again, every single time you open up the same book, right, a few weeks later, a few months later, you'll find something new. You'll find some new treasure, new guidance, new knowledge that you didn't have before, that you may have access, or that you may have learned before, but you may have forgotten. So it's a good reminder for you, right? He also says that there are more than, there are like millions and millions of, books out there. I can't remember the exact number, 130,000 or million, I can't remember. But he says that of all of those, you basically find 150 books for yourself. The most impactful books to your life, 150 of them, find them, right? And read them and just go through them again and again throughout your life, right? You can't go through all of the books out there, but find the ones that really impact you and your life, and that really hit you, right? Find those and keep them, and continuously go through them. And again, it takes a while to go through 150 books, so it's not a small task to to do that throughout one's life. So it's a lifelong journey, really, even just with those 150 or 200 books that you're able to find for yourself. And so transitioning from finding a mentor to reading books, um, when Tom Corley did his research on people who were self-made millionaires, one of the aspects he found that related to their success was their having a mentor, right? We said that 9 out of every 10 of those people who he had in his research attributed their success and their wealth to a mentor. The other aspect of their success and what they attributed to their success was reading books. So there were two things: finding a mentor or having a mentor, and reading books. So reading books is important because it's a way for us to find mentors from the past, those mentors who are not alive anymore. One of the best ways, and one of the only ways really, to gain the knowledge that they had and the expertise and to learn from them, is to read books about them and read their books if they've written any, right? So some statistics about reading books and kind of some tragic things. Only 30% of Americans visited a bookstore in the last 5 years. 42% of college graduates never read a book after graduating. If you read the biographies of all successful people, you'll realize that they are all avid readers. So Bill Clinton in 1982, he lost an election that year. That same year, he read 300 books. 300 books in 1 year. That's almost a book a day, right? So it shows you that his failure in that election motivated him to read extensively, to almost learn from the mistakes and almost to improve himself to an extent that he's like, I'm not going to go through this again. I'm not going to lose next time, right? I need to basically gain so much knowledge and expertise and information for myself and improve myself that next time I'm not going to lose. There must be a reason I lost, and he attributed that to his not reading enough, right? As practically speaking, so he read 300 books that year, and of course we know that a few years later he went on to become the president of the U.S. So it's amazing that he read 300 books in that 1 year after losing an election. He said, or if you were to read one book a month, and try to get to 300 books, it would take you 25 years, and he did it in 1 year. And the person I mentioned previously, Tai Lopez, who is living today, he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs today. He reads a book a day, if you can believe that. Right? On average, he reads maybe a book of every day or every 2 days, and it's amazing that he's able to do that, um, and achieve that goal. And when I heard people like talking about reading a book a week, I was like, dang, that's insane. How do you even do that? And now he reads a book a day, so it's pretty crazy. Again, some more things. 75% of self-made millionaires report reading at least 2 books a month. Rich versus poor, and again, this is the research that Tom Corley did. 11% of rich people read for entertainment, compared to 79% of poor people. So he said that if you compare rich people versus poor people in the research and the studies that he did, 11% of rich people, only 11% read for entertainment. So even the reading, the content that's read by rich people is actually beneficial, and beneficial books, beneficial knowledge that they try to acquire. Whereas poor people, 79% of them read for entertainment, meaning that they'll read novels, they'll read like Harry Potter and Twilight and all these like other books and things that are out there that are like fiction, that are meant only for entertainment purposes, not actual knowledge and beneficial purposes. 80, almost 79% of poor people actually read for entertainment, compared to only 11% of rich people. 85% of rich people read two or more education, career related, or self improvement books per month, compared to 15% of poor people. 94% of rich people read news publications, including newspapers and blogs, compared to only 11% of poor people. So the overall conclusion that he reached, he says in his research, is that your daily habits will dictate your financial success in life, and there are 4 or 5 key ones. One of those keys, he explains, is self-education, right? The rich are voracious readers on how to improve themselves. They're reading self-improvement books, biographies, books about successful people, things like that, right? So basically, again, going back to the point that one of the ways to achieve success is to read about successful people, is to learn about successful people, is to model and copy, to even a certain extent, successful people, right? That is one of the biggest predictors, and most accurate predictors of success. To continue, just a couple of final points on reading books. Oprah Winfrey. We all know who Oprah is, or you should. If you don't, then I don't. I think you have bigger issues than reading books. But no, I'm just kidding. So Oprah, she says that I can't imagine I could become the person I am now without books. And Tommy DePaula, he's a children's book writer. He says that you can learn anything about everything and everything about anything. He was asked to make a statement, a very concise statement about the amazing thing about books, and this is the statement he made, that you can learn anything about everything and everything about anything. It's a very deep statement and something that we can reflect upon, and how much knowledge is accessible through books, right? And how much time do we waste on other forms of entertainment and other things in our life, when we could literally be improving ourselves, improving the way we think about the world, gaining knowledge about things in the world. So again, it's a very good reminder for myself, and hopefully for all of you, that we need to read books, right? We need to also motivate our children to read books as well, right? When there's countless data and research that shows that, um, when you read to children, and when children develop a habit of reading from an early age, their brain actually develops at a faster rate, and it accelerates. There are countless benefits of reading. It makes you smarter. It gets you knowledge. Knowledge is power, right? Knowledge protects you from ignorance. And there's tons of benefits of reading for ourselves and for our children or for our families, right? One person, I was listening to him, I can't remember his name. He was a speaker, business speaker. He was talking about how he pays his children to read books. He doesn't pay his children to do chores, rather, he pays his children to read books. And so he says that if you want your allowance, then you have to read a book and you have to submit a 1 page report on that book. And every single night, the family, what they would do is they would discuss over dinner what book every single person is reading, kind of talk about what they recently read, or the last chapter or the past few pages that they read. They would discuss it. So even reading books can actually bring a family together. It can develop a closer relationship with your children, with your family members. So there's just countless benefits of reading books versus watching TV, watching movies, and all that stuff. And again, those things have their place, and in moderation, everything is okay. But unfortunately, we go too much into things. We are extravagant in the way we indulge in entertainment, and we really need to take a step back and see how important reading books are, and really use that as an alternative instead of entertainment. The other final thing I'll say about this point before we move on, and I know this has already gone a bit long, but is that entertainment, watching TV, for example, is known to create a low level of stress in one's body. So meaning that, like, a lot of times we chill, we watch TV, we take a break, we watch a movie, Netflix, whatever it is, to take a break and to relax. The thing is that in our mind, there's actually a low level of stress being created. So we don't really notice it, but there is, right? So there's a low level of stress being created. On the other hand, on the opposite hand, reading books does the opposite. Reading books actually provides a sense of relaxation and comfort and peace in one's body and mind, right? It really soothes you. It just calms you down, right? So it really has the opposite effect of TV, and it actually lowers. It's known, reading is actually known to lower your stress levels, right? So the next time you are stressed or you're frustrated, instead of watching something and taking a break, and even we tend to also overeat and eat junk when we're stressed, and while we're watching something. Instead, pick up a book and start reading, and you'll be shocked at the results that you see in yourself and how it de-stresses you in your body and your mind. All right, the final few points that we'll talk about on this topic of entrepreneurial mindset: managing one's time. um, you know there's not much to say on this. So, I mean, this is one of those things that we know that we're supposed to do, but yet most people aren't able to do this. I'll just mention a couple of things about managing your time. The first thing is that you really need to set up a routine for yourself, and I need to do that for myself, right? We need to, on a daily basis, on a weekday, for example, on work days, we need to know exactly what we're doing at every part of the day, essentially, right? We can't go into a day where we don't know what we're gonna be doing at any specific minute or hour of the day, right? So create a schedule for yourself. And then, of course, a very important part of managing one's time is the night before, right? One of my mentors, he told me that a good life is made up of good years. A good year is made up of good months. A good month is made up of good weeks. A good week is made up of good days. And a good day is made up of a good night. Meaning that it's very important. If you want to have a good day, then the night before better be good. You better sleep on time. You better not be watching stuff late at night. You better not be working late at night. All right, go to sleep. The sleep was created by Allah. It was meant to be a time to rest and to get some shut eye, basically, right? So you need to go to sleep, even if there are things on your mind and you feel like doing things at night. It's not a good time to do things, right? It's a good time to sleep because that's what it was meant for. And the best time, the exact opposite of what we think, is actually the morning time, right? A lot of times we stay awake at night. We think that, okay, well, everybody's asleep, I can get some focused work done. The thing is that it's one of the least optimal times for your mind to actually focus and to get stuff done. Rather, on in the morning, if you actually go to sleep instead of working at night, and then wake up earlier in the morning, then that's actually the most optimal time for you to work. And that's when your mind is at the highest level of thinking, and that's when you'll be the most productive and the most focused. So you want to manage your time. You want to have time blocks. So you want to make sure that you have like a time, let's say, of 3 to 4 hours where you don't do anything other than work, right? You want to have a time block for your family, or you want to have a time block for your, worship, for example, for your, prayers and whatnot. A lot of times, because we don't have these time blocks set up, then everything goes haywire and goes crazy, right? If you know that every single day from 3 to 5 or from 7 to 9 or whatever, that's my family time, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, that's my family time. And then other things are business, and then you have other things for yourself, whatever the case is, you have those time blocks set up, then that will really help you manage your time. The problem is, again, most people go into the day, they don't know when they're going to do what. It's kind of just random. And again, specifically, we're talking about entrepreneurs because we have the ability, for the most part, to design our own schedules, right? It's a liberty, but again, it can be a curse. If we don't manage it and keep ourselves disciplined. So it's very important to manage your time. And every single day of the week, you should know what you're doing, what's an off day, what's not an off day, what are you doing on those on days, and then on the off days, even those off days, what are you going to be doing? It's very important to know that and schedule that ahead of time, so that, just like with eating, for example, when people talk about maintaining a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle, they talk about preparing your meals ahead of time, and knowing what you're going to eat so that you don't binge eat. Similarly, when talking about time, don't binge habit or don't binge do things, meaning that don't do random things at random times. Like, have set things for, at set times, so that you don't have the ability to even randomly go off schedule, right? So the other thing is never getting comfortable. Uh, One of the things that leads to failure for many entrepreneurs is getting comfortable. So, hey, I just reached 6 figures a year. Hey, I just reached 7 figures a year, right? Like, when you get to a point where you feel like, okay, well, now I'm comfortable, that is the beginning of your path to failure, essentially, right? And that's one of the things that we as entrepreneurs, no matter what goal we achieve or no matter what point we get to, we need to constantly push ourselves. Because if you get comfortable, then you're going to get lazy. And if you get lazy, then you're going to stop taking action. If you stop taking action, then other people around you are going to basically overtake you. There's always competition in the entrepreneurial space, whatever space you're in. And if you get lazy, then someone's going to overtake you. And, at one point you have 7 figures and basically you're broke the next time, right? The next time you look at yourself and you're like, what happened? So never get comfortable. Always continue to push yourself. And you always want to increase your ability to handle pressure and ability to handle risk and your ability to handle, any situation, right? You never want to be too comfortable. So basically, for example, if your goal is to get to 10,000 a month, let's say, in revenue, and you get to that point, right? So now what happens is that, well, first of all, let's say you're broke, right? So now you're at a point where, like, you can't get any lower. So you're basically pushed, and they call this power of broke, right? When you're in a situation where you're not in your comfort zone at all, you're broke, you need to find a way to make money. Your mind essentially um, creates ideas and makes and finds a way to help you make money because that's your goal, right? Because you're in such a situation of stress and pressure that your mind is helping you out and telling you, hey, here's how we're going to get through this. Here's how we're going to solve this problem, right? Because literally at that point, when you're broke, you have nothing to lose. There's nothing below that point, right? So similarly, that pressure that you have when you're almost broke or when you're broke that you need to manually put that pressure on yourself when you're in another situation that doesn't forcefully put that pressure on you, right? When you're broke, there's no choice. That pressure is on you because it's just there. You can't get rid of it, right? And so you're forced to basically take action to get out of that situation. Now, when you're at 10, let's say you go from broke to 10,000 a month, right? Now at 10,000 a month, many people would be like, okay, well, I'm set now. I can do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. They get comfortable and then they go broke again, or they lose their money. They don't, they don't maintain that success, right? They get comfortable. And so at that 10,000 a month price, or that, revenue goal, let's say you get there, now you need to basically put yourself in a situation where you're applying pressure on yourself and you're telling yourself, hey, now I need to get to 50K a month in revenue, right? And you need to treat yourself like where you are is not where you want to be, that you want to get further, right? And again, not to the extent that it makes you go crazy, like when you're broke, like you're going crazy, but it's kind of, you want to do that in a healthy way where it's making you continue to work, continue to be productive and not get lazy and not get comfortable. Okay, so the comfort for an entrepreneur is the worst thing, right? Because that's when we become lazy. That's when we become, unproductive. That's when we say that, okay, well, I can do whatever I want. And again, that leads to failure. So never get comfortable. That's a very important thing. And then failure is the stepping stone to success. And this is, I think, probably the final point I have to make on this topic. And I mean, there's just so much that can be said about this final point. But the thing is that so many times I see people failing and failing and failing, and they basically think that they're never going to achieve success. Whereas when you look at all successful people, literally any successful person you look at, I can't even think of one successful person who's never faced challenges or faced failure on the way to achieving that success, right? And there's a quote, there's a statement that says that failure, the highest pressure to uh, admit to failure is when you are the closest to success, right? So literally, I don't know if you've seen that image of, the person who's digging for gold, under the ground, and they basically get literally like a foot away from where the gold is, or where all the diamonds or all the treasure is, and then they basically turn around and go the other way, right? Not knowing that if they just went a little bit further, even though they dug so much and they didn't find anything, they kept digging, but they stopped before they actually hit the riches, they hit the treasure, they hit the success. So similarly, you need to, you're going to be faced with so much failure. Again, not even just in entrepreneurship and business, but in life, right? We know that, we're all faced with challenges and tests and whatnot. And if we can achieve them, and if we can overcome them, and if we can beat them, and if we can get through them, right, properly, and keep going and moving forward, then success will eventually come. And we have to believe that, and we have to have that mindset that success is around the corner, success is coming. You went into this specific opportunity, or you pursued this specific opportunity, knowing that others have achieved success with it, and you know that you can achieve success. And it doesn't matter how many times you tried a product out and you failed. It doesn't matter how many times you tried some other business out and it failed. Keep going, keep trying, keep doing it, and eventually that success will come. Right? Failure literally is a stepping stone to success. Right? Khan Mirza, who, as I referred to earlier, he's worth almost 600 million now, mashallah. He failed in his first 8 businesses. Right? Can you imagine? He failed in his first 8 businesses. He lost a lot of money. He owed people a lot of money, but he kept going. His ninth and then his 10th business made him hundreds of millions of dollars eventually, right? Or tens of millions at least. So, um, again, any successful person you look at, and you look at their backstory, there's failure there, right? There's failure there, and you can't think that you'll ever achieve success without any failure. Failure is a process; it's part of that path to success, and you have to realize that, and you have to understand that. So that's the okay. Well, I guess that wasn't the final. This is the final point. Money loves speed. Okay, so a lot of times what happens is that we want to make things perfect. I want to make sure that I select the perfect product. I want to make, and again, that's with referring to Amazon specifically. Or I want to make sure that this presentation is perfect, or I want to make sure that this thing is perfect and that thing is perfect. And essentially, what happens is that you take so long, and you don't see the money, you don't see the success quickly enough. And that's basically because of your own self, because you took so long to try to make things perfect. You would have made money even if you put out that course or put out that product or whatever, as it was earlier, right? And you didn't take so long to decide or to try to make things perfect. And money literally loves speed. The faster you do things, the faster you take action, you will have money, because most people don't like, you don't have to be perfect to make money, right? Whatever you're doing, whatever you're pursuing, whatever opportunity you are, whether it's Amazon or anything else, believe me, like, the people who have achieved the most success and have made the most money worry the least about making things perfect. They, do things the best they can in the limited time. They set deadlines for themselves. And once that deadline approaches, whatever they have, done and whatever they have completed, they put it out there and they move forward with it, right? And they do that again and again and again. They don't worry about making things perfect, because the thing is that you can worry about quality later, right? You can worry about making something perfect and better later. You can always improve it. There's a story about Grant Cardone, who wrote the book Sell or Be Sold. He said that he wrote this book in a matter of hours, right? When he was a bit younger, he wrote his first book in a matter of hours. He published it, he started selling it. It was a best-selling book. And so someone came up to him one day and said that, "Hey, I can't believe you put this book out there. Like I spent 3 hours documenting every single grammatical and spelling mistake that you made in this entire book, and here's the entire list. Here's a spreadsheet for you." And then Grant Cardone looks at him and he's like, "Are you like crazy? Like that you spent 3 hours going through and proofreading my book?" And Grant Cardone, he made a funny but very true statement. He said that this is a best-selling book, not a best-written book, right? It's a very like funny statement that he made, but it's very true that he wrote a best-selling book, but it wasn't the best-written book. But again, he went back and obviously he made those changes, he proofread it, he edited it, and all that stuff, and he made it a second version that didn't have all of those errors that he had the first time. But what? Guess what? Even the first one that had all those mistakes and errors, it became a best-selling book, right? So similarly, again, the lesson there is that take action, right? Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction, right? Like if you don't take any action and you try to make things perfect and you try to get things as good as possible, like you will never get to a point where you think that whatever you did is perfect. It will never be perfect. There will always be room to improve. There will always be feedback that you'll get to make it better, right? So just put it out there, go with it, move forward, and see how much like your money will come in quickly because your action is quick as well. All right, inshallah. So that's the final thing. Now, agenda item number 3, live Q&A. Hopefully that was valuable to you guys. It was a bit more in depth than what I've included in the course with regards to mindset and motivation. But again, those were some points that I felt were important to mention again as a reminder for myself and for all of you. And some points, sometimes like reading books, and they seem so simplistic and they seem so cliche, and it's like, okay, well, I've heard this a million times, I don't need to know this, I don't need to hear about this. But the thing is that we need to remind ourselves, we need to constantly improve ourselves, work on our personal development, work on our business development. All of these different areas are very important, and lead to a more fulfilling and more productive life for us, right? So and especially with regards to business, obviously, as you guys continue to pursue, whether it's the Amazon business and grow it, or whether it's other business opportunities out there, you will need to keep all of these things in mind as foundational concepts, to, inshallah, achieve the highest levels of success in anything that you pursue. Okay, cool. So we have live Q&A now. If you guys have any questions, someone said that it was very good. I've created a spreadsheet for my daily schedule, and since using this, I've noticed my productivity has increased. I slot in there all the prayer times and other things I need to do which aren't work related. So this makes my day very realistic, so I don't overload my day with tasks and feel like I haven't achieved anything. I set myself a schedule for 2 weeks at a time. And she says that she can share this, and I would love to see it and even use it myself, inshallah. So let's touch base offline. If you can email me the spreadsheet, that would be amazing, so that I can take a look and perhaps we can share with everyone in the group. That was awesome. As for the Pomodoro technique for larger tasks, I'm not sure exactly what that is, so maybe you can elaborate on that. Whether it's via email or later in the group, that's fine. But would definitely learn or would love to know more about that as well. Are there any books you recommend for how to set goals? Yes. So the one I mentioned is a very good, Think and Grow Rich. It's a very good book. It talks about mindset and how to turn goals into beliefs, and it actually talks about how to set goals as well. Another book I recommend is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a very good book. Um, what else is there? Uh, yeah, those are kind of the two that I would recommend right off the bat if you want to start out. They're very, very good books. There are many others, and I can provide potentially a list of books, business books and entrepreneurship books, mindset books that you guys can access eventually. Okay, so another question about Amazon. Um, okay, so someone said that I've prepared a template email to send to Amazon reviewers, inviting them to review my product. My question is, do I include the product listing in this email or wait for them to respond before sending them any further details? What I would do is I wouldn't include the product listing link because that will affect your conversion rate. Rather, what I would do is mention what your product is. Okay. So if your product is a cookie cutter or a food scale or whatever, just say, hey, I have a food scale or cookie cutter that I'd love for you to review. Here are some details about the product. I would love for you to review it. If you agree, then I'd be happy to send you a link to my product listing as well as a coupon code and URL or whatever, so that you can review it. That's probably what I would do and what I would recommend. If they don't like using super URLs, um, well, you need to send them a URL uh, anyway, right? So again, if they don't like use, if your viewers don't like super URLs, then you can potentially hide the super URL in a bit.ly link potentially. I don't know if you would think that's ethical or not. If not, then again, you can just send them the direct link to your profile, your Amazon product listing. The thing is that we know that the most juice and the most ranking boost that you'll get is through super URLs. So hopefully the reviewers are okay with it. Like I said, you can hide it potentially in a bit.ly link or something that will direct to the super URL link. But again, you can also just do the product listing, although that won't give you the same amount of boost for your product if you don't use a super URL. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns? This is the last coaching call, so if you guys have any questions you want to answer live, then this is your opportunity, this is your chance. Otherwise, we're going to end in a couple of minutes, inshallah. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this coaching call. I want to thank you all for attending this fifth and final EEA Masters Life Coaching call. As I do every week, by the end of today, inshallah, the recording of it should be up in the members area. I also want to give a really big overall thank you to all of you who have been consistent in attending. I mean, I see the names and I know those of you who are consistently attending these life coaching calls. I can't thank you enough, and I can't extend enough appreciation to you for doing that and for being so committed to attending these live calls and listening to my boring voice and it's not always the best presentation, but I hope that I was able to provide as much value and benefit as possible to you, and hopefully these have been a means for you to grow your business and get some tips and tidbits and whatnot for your Amazon businesses and to grow them and to really take them to the next level. So on that note, again, thank you so much. I hope you guys and hope you all have a very blessed week, and I hope you all are able to take action and implement specifically a lot of what we talked about today with regards to entrepreneurial mindset, personal development, reading books, really building that strong mindset and that foundation that will help you achieve, as much success as possible for in your business. Sorry, someone just asked another question. Yes, so someone just said that I've been away for several weeks. Are the other coaching calls still available? Yes, absolutely. Log into the membership site, and you will see the live coaching call recording section. Under that, every single week's coaching call recording is up, as will this one. It'll be there in just a few hours, inshallah. So on that note, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for attending all of these calls. I'm going to miss doing this every week, but I'm also not going to miss it so much. Again, like I said, it's bittersweet. So, hopefully you guys benefited and found value, and have a great week. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you can still access, me via email or ideally via the Facebook group, so that not only I but also other students have a chance to pitch in and kind of contribute to the conversation, and also people can access it and go back. So it's a more public conversation and thread, so that it's beneficial. It's beneficial to other people as well, instead of doing it directly through email. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.